At 140 miles per hour, Hurricane Melissa barrels toward Florida's Gulf Coast, its eye just 500 miles out, powered by the hottest Gulf waters on record. This is the moment the governor sounded the alarm for all 67 counties, declaring a full state of emergency as storm trackers reveal near certainty of a catastrophic direct hit on Tampa Bay. In the world of hurricane science, every millibar lost means a tighter, more violent vortex. At 938 millibars, Melissa's winds had accelerated to 140 miles per hour, placing it firmly in Category 4 territory. The bigger the storm, the more water it can push ashore, and the more infrastructure it can threaten at once. Pilots flying through the eye wall described turbulence so severe that cockpit alarms sounded nearly nonstop. Governor Ron DeSantis stepped to the podium inside the State Emergency Operations Center, surrounded by a wall of maps and blinking screens. The clock on the wall read 9:14 a.m. As the latest National Hurricane Center cone showed Melissa's eye locked on Tampa Bay, the governor issued a statewide emergency order for all 67 counties. His voice was measured, but the message was unmistakable. We are facing a rapidly intensifying hurricane with the potential for catastrophic impact. All Floridians must take this threat seriously. The order triggered the full activation of emergency management teams from Pensacola to Key West, opening the way for mandatory evacuations, supply convoys, and the mobilization of the National Guard. Within minutes, alerts flashed across cell phones and local news tickers. The state's 48 to 72-hour window before expected landfall left little margin for hesitation. Counties along the Gulf Coast, especially those inside the projected impact zone, began issuing their own evacuation orders for coastal zones A and B. That meant more than 2.5 million people were now under direct orders to leave their homes. Voluntary evacuations for zones C and D added another million to the exodus. The National Weather Service in Tampa issued a stark bulletin, quoting surge models that showed the possibility of 15 to 20 feet of water inundating Pinellas County. A century ago, Tampa Bay was a quiet stretch of coastline dotted with fishing villages and citrus groves. In 1921, when the last major hurricane struck, fewer than 10,000 people lived in the entire region. Most homes were wooden, raised on blocks, and scattered far from the water's edge. The surge that swept across Pinellas and Hillsborough counties back then carved new inlets and flooded farmland, but there were no high-rises, no condo towers, and no billion-dollar neighborhoods at risk. Today, that same coastline is home to more than 3.2 million people. Over the decades, the population has multiplied by more than 300 times, filling in every inch of land from the barrier islands to the inland suburbs. The waterfront is now lined with luxury condos, sprawling subdivisions, and some of the most valuable real estate in the country. Bayfront parks, glass office towers, and marinas have replaced the old citrus groves. Every year, new arrivals add pressure to a region already bursting at the seams. The physical landscape has changed too. Since 1950, sea levels along Florida's Gulf Coast have risen by 8 inches, according to NOAA tide gauges. That may not sound like much, but for low-lying neighborhoods built at or near the waterline, it's enough to tip the balance between a close call and a disaster. Streets that once stayed dry during storms now flood with even moderate high tides. Drainage systems, designed for the past, can't keep up with the new normal. Historians point to the 1921 hurricane as a warning from a different era, a time when the bay's population was small and the risks were easier to manage. The region's transformation from rural outpost to urban powerhouse means that the next major hurricane won't just be a test of weather science, it will be a test of how much risk a modern city can tolerate when nature pushes back. Across the Tampa Bay region, the value of what stands in harm's way is staggering. More than $3 trillion in property, spanning luxury high-rises, waterfront homes, marinas, and commercial centers, sits exposed on the parcel maps, layered from the barrier islands to the outer suburbs. Over the past decade, climate researchers have tracked a sharp rise is in the frequency of major hurricanes making landfall in Florida. Where once a generation might pass between direct hits, models now suggest the state could face a hurricane of this magnitude every 1 to 2 years. Sea level rise, already up 8 inches since 1950, has quietly raised the baseline for disaster, making each new storm more dangerous than the last. As Hurricane Melissa closes in, the financial stakes are clear. This is a test not just of emergency response, but of how much risk Florida's coastal boom has built into its future. Every parcel at risk is mapped, valued, and accounted for. And with each new hurricane season, the odds of another multi-billion-dollar disaster only grow. Mandatory evacuation orders for zones A and B sent 2.5 million Floridians scrambling for higher ground. Melissa's projected 140 miles per hour winds, coupled with a storm surge forecast of 15 to 20 feet, threaten to flatten entire parks and sweep away anything not anchored to concrete. Emergency managers estimate that in Pinellas alone, more than 120,000 residents live in mobile homes, many in evacuation zone A, directly in the path of the worst surge. A resident's voice, shaky over a scratchy radio call, captures the anxiety. "We don't got a car, they said a bus is coming, but my mom is sick. How will she get out?" County logs show that nearly 1 in 5 residents at Twin Palms couldn't secure a spot on the first wave of evacuation buses. Social media threads fill with neighbors sharing rides, posting updates on who still needs help, and coordinating with park staff scrambling to track who remains. Bridges connecting barrier islands to the mainland are scheduled to close as soon as winds reach 40 miles per hour, cutting off escape routes for anyone left behind. In mobile home parks and low-lying neighborhoods, every hour counts. The physical risk is not abstract. It's measured in the distance from the water, the year a home was built, and the ability of a family to get out before the first band of hurricane-force winds arrives. As of today, Hurricane Melissa's wind field stretches 80 miles from its center, with storm surge forecasts predicting up to 20 feet in the Tampa Bay region. The National Hurricane Center confirms Melissa strengthened from a tropical storm to a Category 4 in just 36 hours, an intensification that took experts by surprise. Tampa Bay now faces the gravest hurricane threat since 1921, with a population increase from under 10,000 then to 3.2 million now, and over $3 trillion in property value at stake. Mandatory evacuations cover 2.5 million people, while insurance companies have already halted new policies and pulled back from the market. Yet key questions remain. How will Florida's insurance system absorb another $100 to $200 billion in losses? Will the region's housing market recover? Or will Hurricane Melissa mark a turning point in Florida's growth? What is clear is that the risks exposed today, record sea levels, infrastructure strain, and an unstable insurance market, are not isolated. As official documents show, the frequency and intensity of major hurricanes are rising, making Florida's future more uncertain than ever.